In this video, I have a really brisk sail at Coles Bay, giving Alec Campbell's winches a terrific workout. I scavenged for shellfish at Honeymoon Bay, and that is about as romantic as it's ever going to get on this channel. My wetsuit blew overboard and sailed happily off towards Shootin' Island. I'm heading out of Launceston, going south to one of my favourite destinations in Tasmania. I'm just south of Campbelltown, just turned off the Midlands Highway. Most of you will have guessed by now where I'm heading. Pretty confident in this trailer, normally don't bother to stop much. Towed all the way down from Queensland, nothing changed. But yeah, just testing the temperature and the bearings there. And what do I find? One of these bearing buddies has been knocked off. The Hazard Mountains form a perfect backdrop as Sarah Ann heads out on her first serious sail on Tasmanian's coast in probably 5 decades or more. Welcome home, Sarah Ann. I arrived at Coles Bay late afternoon, so the first leg of the journey is just a short hop across to the fisheries, but the sailing conditions are perfect for sailing just under the headsail, so I couldn't resist tacking backwards and forwards for a little while. I'm in the wind shadow created by the Hazard Mountains. In the 1820s, the fisheries was the home to a whaling station. I've sat there on the deck and watched whales come up the bay as the hills resonated with the sound of breaching whales. During my teens, when we visited Coles Bay regularly, we never took meat. We could always find plenty of fish as a source of protein. But because our generation overexploited the fish, there's now a heavily regulated recreational fishing industry. As I was one of very few boats on the water over this weekend, a Pacific gull became my constant companion. Well, you're optimistic anyway. You think I'm going to catch something, do you? Here's to a salami and avocado sandwich. After an hour of fishing, and not catching, I had to satisfy myself with a salami sandwich. But fortunately, after a while, a fisherman that I'd befriended on the boat ramp dropped by and furnished me with an ample supply of fish. It doesn't matter who catches the fish, they still taste absolutely great. But the plan came together the next day, and I was able to catch plenty of squid of my own. If you were underneath looking up, such as if you were a dolphin underneath looking up, you'd see all these little clumps. It would look like your target, I guess. Yeah, so coming up from underneath, you might sort of happen to miss the squid and hit one of the clumps of ink instead. So it increases their chances of survival. That's my theory anyway. Fish are not biting, but we just did have a beautiful sea eagle circling around just above us. He must have thought we were going to catch something. Well, I tried everything I knew to catch some flathead. I fished in 15 metres, 6 metres, 4 metres. I used different jigs and bait, nothing. So I'm heading back to the tranquility of the fisheries to think things over and maybe regroup and have another go tomorrow morning. Having just been doing a lot of work on painting the deck, couple of squid, yeah, right, well, lots of ink, lots of blood and guts. Had a fair bit of breeze when I started out. The forecast was 3 to 6 light and variable, but with Tasmanian conditions it's often light and variable 3 to 6 gusting to 45 knots. Well, it wasn't quite that, but I reckon we caught some gusts that came down through across the isthmus, and they were probably in the order of 25 knots. First one caught me by surprise, nearly knocked me flat. I had the jib sheet cleated off at the time. I think that must have looked quite exciting from the shore. There's not many boats down here. I guess the breeze tends to keep them off the water. There was just the one fishing boat, and he supplied me with all the fish I need for the week. But he also tempted me because he told me that just round the point there, the blackback salmon are running, and what else? Pike and lots of squid. But he was trying to get a kingfish, and he said he's seen some kingfish down there. Well, that would be a lot of fun. So see how the weather goes tomorrow morning, and I'll have a bit of a try. I made a decision not to head right down the peninsula on this occasion, but I will be back and I will be going right down there. But the forecast for Friday afternoon and Friday night, so that's tomorrow, is gusting up to 35 knots. I don't want to be down there mixed up in that. My friend Robert has very kindly allowed me to tie up to his mooring, and even recommended that I clean some of the mussels off the mooring. He said they're really, really tasty, so I might have a crack at that tomorrow. It's going to blow today from the northeast. Behind me you can see the commercial wharf. Ahead of you now is the chateau. It's right in the national park. township of Coves Bay. As that wind has swung round more to the north. Drifting our way downwind to Honeymoon Bay. We're slowly drifting our way downwind towards Honeymoon Bay. You can see Mount Amos there. The wind's quite fickle at the moment. It's just enough to get us in there and then drop the anchor in the mouth of the bay there. So we've got a little bit of a puff that's come around a little bit more northerly, and that's quite favourable for us. Just aiming right smack for the middle of the bay now. Getting up a bit of boat speed so that I can steer. There's a nice unexpected surprise. I thought it was going to be cloudy all day, but the clouds just moved on. The sun's come out and it's absolutely beautiful. I'm sitting in Honeymoon Bay and I'm about to make myself some breakfast, and then a lady came past on her sup, and guess what she was doing? She was talking on her phone. Well, tragic, eh? But the thing was that I was doing FaceTime with my grandkids at the time. So neither of us had a clue where we were in the world, just focused on our phones, eh? How good's that? There's no better place in the world to be on your phone, by the way. This is not a cooking show, by the way. I had some fish, some olive oil, and some salt and pepper to season it. I'm applying the KISS principle, keeping it simple and savoury. Blackback salmon's quite an oily fish. It's nice if it's bled straight away, which I believe this was. But underneath the skin there is this layer of really heavy oil. And it really needs to be seared like this. So how's that for breakfast in beautiful Honeymoon Bay? You realise blackback salmon is not actually a salmon, it's actually Australian perch. Nothing like salmon at all, but tastes really good. The great thing about Coves Bay compared to the Tamar River is that when you catch something you can actually eat it. Just over there behind me, those rocks are bristling with big juicy mussels. They will make a perfect appetizer for a meal this evening, which is going to be calamari rings. I'm only about 50 metres from the shore. I'm in my lightweight short wetsuit and my blood is well and truly conditioned to the subtropics. The water temperature here is a balmy 17.5 degrees, well, balmy for around these parts. After the initial shock, I find that I acclimatise quite quickly to the cool water conditions. I could have stayed in for as long as I wanted, but just to collect a few mussels and a couple of oysters didn't need that much time. Now to get out of here. I did do away with the boarding ladder. It took several serious tries before I was able to climb out of the water and back onto the boat. To say I felt like an elephant seal would be very unfair to the seal, because they've actually got a pretty good power to weight ratio, unlike me. I tried over the stern by stepping on the rudder, and I went round the side and tried to swing my legs up, but I just couldn't get them up high enough. So it has sent me back to the drawing board with regard to my views on boarding ladders. Although a bit unsightly, I'm going to have to come up with something. Maybe I can build a nice wooden ladder with a swim platform. It was so nice to get back in the water there. Well, I hung my wetsuit on the bush bit, and then I went below and had a snooze, and of course what happened while I was down there was it blew off into the water. Chances are it's washed up on that shore there somewhere. And I have had a look through my binoculars, but I'm going to have to go for a hunt. I couldn't see anything. Likelihood of getting round that corner. And so it is that I get another dip in the waters of the Great Southern Ocean, this time minus my wetsuit. I swam to shore at a brisker than usual pace and climbed out. Fortunately, it was very sunny and there was no wind, and I made my way around the shoreline, and eventually, at the very last moment when I was starting to give up hope, this is what I found. Thank you, Lord. That was the last possible little crease in the rocks where it could have caught before it made its way down to Shootin' Island. I'll be posting the second part of this video of the trip to Coves Bay next Sunday. Watch out for another video midweek where I'll be tackling Sarah Ann, fixing things that I haven't got round to yet, improving things which I got round to but didn't quite do them as well as I should have done the first time. I've got well over a year to bring Sarah Ann into absolutely tip-top condition, ready for the Woodenboat Festival, which is in February 2025. Sounds like it's a long way away, but let's see how it goes.